Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Coloring Tips and Tricks. This is Nathan, and we're back coloring this Wolverine cover. So last episode, went ahead, did our planning process, and so we have our game plan. I'm gonna go with, I'm just gonna get another layer here, red. So we're gonna go with cooler colors, on the back over here, and then warmer colors up here in the front. So yeah, cool colors where there's no green. And then warmer. I don't know about like 100%, warm, like for the smoke over here yet, and the guy in the background. But we'll see how it goes when we get to it. As they say, all plans and whatever. So I guess usually when I start, I'll go ahead and start with the background, because usually, I like to be like nice and warmed up by the time I get to the main figures. So let's go ahead and we'll start there. Let me get a soft brush. I want to make this bottom part here lighter, so we got some nice contrast going, because these characters are going to stay, on the darker side. So I want to add a little bit, lighter colors down here. I think that looks good. Now, again, I still have my hue saturation layer up on top, so I can just keep an eye on the contrast. I think that looks nice. All right, so background's done. All right, so let's go to the back. Let's go ahead and go to the background people here. We got Shadow Cat here, Matsuo, Sabretooth, a couple Hydra guys, and then Madam Hydra. I think we'll start to get warmed up. Let's go for Sabretooth first. Like what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take him. Oops, make sure my anti-alias is on. So I want the selections to be nice and smooth. So I'll go ahead and copy that, just so I can have that like as a quick selection. Oops, I forgot his other fur here. Just kind of how I have this area as a selection. So I can have Sabretooth as a selection in case I need to clean up some areas or something like that. So I think first, let's get his outfit out of the way. It's very similar brown to, say, like Wolverine's right here. But we're going to try and keep it on the bluish side. So we're going to desaturate the color. Let's see how this looks. And again, we can go through and we can adjust. And I'm sure we're going to do a lot of adjusting on the colors as we go. All right, that looks fine. So I got my lasso, no feather on it, and the anti-aliasing on. I know like some people don't like to keep they'll like when they're doing rendering, they'll keep the anti-aliasing off. Like, so for flats and for doing selections, they'll keep the anti-aliasing off. I like to I'll do like for flats. I mean, you can see here like the anti-aliasing is off. But when I do selections, when I'm rendering, I like to turn it on. And I'll see if I can do a video as to why I like to do that. So that'll be, hopefully coming in the future. I'm just going to lock this layer right here. That way there I can go ahead and color all over the place. So So you can see none of that is getting on Wolverine. So it's just locking to what's on this layer. So that's gonna help us out. And speed it up. So I'm just using a soft airbrush, and it's, you know, just the one that comes with Photoshop. I have it at 100% opacity, and I just use the flow at 30%. And I've showed this trick before, and the reason why I do that, I don't mess with the opacity any. It's just the flow, because on my number keys, the numbers on the side of the keyboard, I just, like, if I want 90%, I just hit 9. If I just want 30%, I hit 3. If I want 100%, I can hit 0, takes it to 100. If I want 10%, I can just hit 1. And it's so much faster, you know, instead of having to go up here or hit enter and then enter a number. So I could do that if I wanted to, like enter, enter and then 0, you know, in order to change the opacity. It's just, 100. You can see that happening up here. You know, it's just so much easier, and then just deal with the flow, and that's it. So it's just a speed thing. You know, a lot of people are, you know, how do I get faster? You know, besides practice, it's, you know, the small little things like that. Deselect that. Oh, there we go. I think I have a little bit on there still. That's fine, I could fix that later. And here, when I'm making my selections, I'm just kind of seeing everything as like a basic shape. You know, so this part here, the muscle, could just be seen as like a, say like it's a sphere. You know, and this vein here would be like a cylinder. You know, so I'm just hitting the highlights on there. And you could always tell, you know, where, especially like heavy rendering and cross-hatching like this, you can tell automatically the shadows on this side. You know, so you just kind of make sure, you know, if it helps you out, you know, you could draw, you know, an arrow on a separate layer or something, like, okay, here's where the light source, here's where the direction is coming from. Hello. Am I stuck on something? Okay. All right, not sure what happened there. It's kind of locked up. Didn't want too much of that happening, especially on recording. So again, just kind of keeping in mind where that light is. You know, so that's how what you're gonna base your selections on. So I don't want, like, you know, this same brightness right here all the way over here, because this is more in shadow. You know, if I go like that, that's just not going to look right. So it's going to fade off, because this, you got to remember, this is rounded. Let me get a new layer here on top so I could show you. So this is going to be the brightest area, and this kind of goes back, and then this here goes back as well. So this way here is going to be more in shadow, and this way here is going to be more in shadow, and this is going to be like the brightest spot. Okay, so hopefully that that makes sense. And did I just flatten everything? What happened? colors down. I guess I did. Alright, well, let me go back to here. Sheesh. So you gotta... I think I have like my history down to like 25 steps or something, like just in case, you know, that kind of stuff happens. Can never be too careful. So maybe I remember way back when I first started in Photoshop, I mean, they didn't even have a history. So you had to always be careful what you're doing. Let me see, is that color? Okay. So let's go ahead and shift this and make it a little bit warmer. That'll be more interesting, I hope. Why? That is not interesting at all. Let's see. Just be brighter. Okay, there we go. It's kind of getting lost in there. Let me brighten that up even more. Now I'll just kind of hit these a little bit as well. And again, not all of them are going to be the same warmth because we want like the focus to be on the face. So this here is going to have like the most highlights, and it'll just kind of fade out as it goes down, okay? Is this working? Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Okay, just kind of keep that in mind. Don't do that. And maybe I'll just do like a small highlight like that on there. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's see. Let's do the eyes and the teeth. One thing you want to remember when you're doing eyes and teeth is that they're not going to be a perfect white. So I know a lot of people will kind of have a tendency to like, oh, okay, white eyes and, you know, perfectly white teeth. And it's just not the case. Because as we know, white is always going to be influenced by the color. You know, in this case here, we have like a blue. So after I'm done doing this rendering, it's probably going to be too white. So it's kind of darken a little bit in a second. That looks ridiculous. All right, let's not do that. Let's keep it like that. I'll add a little bit more of this kind of cyan into it. Ooh, excuse me. That looks pretty good about there. All right, skin tone. Now, for flesh tones, I get a lot of questions about, you know, like, oh, well, what are your swatches? What flesh tones do you use? And I used to have like a set that I would use all the time. You can find it like way up here at the top. I think like these three. If I remember, let me see. I don't have them named anymore, but they were based off of Pantone markers, you know, from way back in the day when I used to color with those. But you know, again, that was like when I first started coloring comics. But, you know, as anything else, the older you get, the more you learn. And there really isn't there's like, oh, here's like my daylight, you know, noon swatches that I'll use for skin tones, you know, but, you know, later on in the day, as the sun's setting, you might have like an orangish or a pinkish light, or at night it's going to be like a bluish or purplish light, and of course that's all going to affect the color of the skin. So you don't want to use like these bright colors if it's nighttime, or you don't want to use these dark colors if it's daytime. So I just kind of do them on the fly, for what works. I might start off with some basic ones. I mean, as you can see, I have like, let's see, these ones right here can be used for flesh tones. These guys right here, these guys right here. Geez, all of these. This one, all of these ones right here, these ones. So, I'll just find a color, I like, and I'll stick to it, or, use that and just kind of grabbing one of these. And it's not like 100%, that's what I'm all gonna use, but it'll at least give me a starting point. So don't feel like you have to use, one set of swatches, for skin tones or whatever. Again, these background characters are going to be a whole lot more desaturated. So now I'm just lightly airbrushing in, as a kind of quick sketch, I guess, of what where everything's going to go. I'm just going to start layering stuff on top of each other. Nostril is going to get some light. And again, just like 30%, so I'm just hitting it just a little bit. Don't want to go too heavy with it. And when I'm making my selections, I like to keep them nice and loose. So I wish I could show you. I'm not holding the pin nib like right at the front of the stylus. Oops, let me deselect that blood there. I'm holding it more towards the back. Probably 3/4 to the back. It helps me keep everything like nice. Okay, I don't know why you're doing that business. That's way too much. Yeah. It helps me keep my selections nice and loose. So it's a lot more of a flow to it. That's what, that's going to help show, some confidence. You can always tell when people aren't confident about, making their marks. I mean, whether it's a penciler, inker, or colorists, if they don't feel confident, you can definitely see it in their work. Let me get a little bit more these wrinkles going here. Yeah, that's all right. Now, kind of hit on that lip a little bit more so it kind of appears to be turned up a little. Just give it a little kick. All right, there's that. Of course, when you get to the rendering bits, this is going to go on a little bit longer. I don't want too much light on that. Yes, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and do the hair bits. Oops. Now right here, I'm just kind of using the dodge tool. Doesn't always work. I mean, I've tried to caution away from, you know, trying to teach that as like a go-to for a lot of people, but it's a big time saver, you know, and really depends on the color that you're using it on, if it's going to work or not. But in this case, with the enough blue, you know, it's going to work all right for us. All right, so there's that. Get these eyebrows, excuse me, get those going. And now I want to show some depth in the hair, so you can see like these parts here will be more pushed back, you know, than these strands here will be flowing out. So I'm just gonna keep that in mind. And when you're doing the hair, just keep in mind you don't have to color each and every strand. Otherwise, everything's just going to look flat and uninteresting. So just kind of hit bits. You know, I mean, kind of like it's drawn. You know, it's just one big, most little clumps. You know, it's not just you're not drawing each individual strand, so you don't have to color, you know, like there is each individual strand showing. Just do little bits. So this is going to get a little bit trickier back in here. So again, just keep with the confident selections. You know, don't be trying to go over it over and over again, trying to make it perfect. Because, you know, hair isn't perfect, as much as you'd like to think so. So I'm just going to go in and deselecting the areas where I don't want. Where I don't want that color put down. I get a big dodge tool here. I kind of go in and break up these shapes just a little bit more. And again, just deselect. It is going to be tough. You know, looking at, okay, like what exactly am I looking at? You know, if you want, you can just go ahead and click on the Q, and that'll bring up your quick mask, so you can see, you know, for yourself what you have selected, what you don't. So there we go. I'm just going to go in and kind of touch up You know, like this part here kept on getting selected, so I'm just gonna push that down. We want a couple of these bang areas to be brighter. So reselect these. Hit those again with the dodge tool. And let's get this guy. All right, now we can do, again, we're saying, you know, we're just gonna, oops. Some of these areas we want a little bit darker, right? Push them back a little bit more. There we go. Let's pick this darker one back here. I have a soft brush again. Okay, that does not look like that same color, does it? This one? Wow, I didn't think it had that much blue in it, but I guess it does. Oh, I have this color balance on, that's why. I was like, why is it not picking that correct color? There you go, okay. Duh. And let me push a little bit of this here back as well. Just, you know, just to help out with some variation. Here, let's get this here. A little bit darker there. All right, and let's hit up this dark bit here. This is all really going to be in shadow, so I think we'll just do maybe one pass with the highlights, maybe two. I don't know. Let's do one, and we'll see how it looks. And a lot of these lines don't seem to flow really well. But that's just part of the challenge of being a colorist. You get a lot of artwork sometimes that just doesn't make any sense. You know, or like the penciler kind of gave up because they have a deadline to meet, and then the inker on top of that is like, I don't know what this is supposed to be, so here you go. And then it's left up to the colorist to kind of figure it out. So, yay. All right, so yeah, we're gonna go do one more pass. And again, you know, just kind of keeping in mind, you know, this part here in the middle is probably going to be the lightest. You know, on this side here is probably going to be dark, and then also the same down here. So let's go ahead, and what we'll do, turn that color balance off so we can pick the right color. And I'm just kind of airbrushing that down, get a little bit darker color here. You know, we don't want to go too dark. So I think that looks pretty good. So there's Sabretooth. Man, this is really going to be tough on time. think what I might do, I'm trying to think, because I'm having issues with the editing software now. I think what I might do, we'll end this one here, and then next episode, I think I'll come back next episode. Maybe we'll knock out Shadowcat and Madam Hydra. And then maybe Matsuo and the AIM guys will be sped up. I don't know. I'll figure something out and I'll get back with you guys. But all right, so we got through Sabretooth today. It's a little bit. It's harder to when I'm working to slow down to explain it. But I don't know. Hopefully, it's going well so far. If you guys like what you see, hit that like button for me. Let me know if you have any questions so far. Be sure to leave a comment or hit me up on Twitter. I'll have the link for that, my Facebook account, and if you're new, my DeviantArt account, if you want to see more examples of my work. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, that'll do it. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. All right, bye.